The Daniel Bryan push. This, in 2013, 2014, got the crowd so invested at every show. But how much of that was for Daniel Bryan and seeing him succeed? And how much of that was casual fans around arenas all over the world doing the S chant? Because it's a fun, easy thing to do. Now, there's that, and also there's the fact that this is Daniel Bryan. This is someone who a mainstream casual viewer looks at Bryan and doesn't take him seriously. That's another thing. This whole situation with Daniel Bryan, I've plenty to say about because it's such a interesting talking point as far as pro wrestling. Because when you look at pro wrestling's demise, its downward spiral ever since 2001 when WCW went out of business. Ever since then, there's been a bunch of little pivotal things that have got us to where we are today, where the ratings for Raw and SmackDown are barely over 2 million. NXT and AEW combined draw like 1.6 million. So like wrestling's in just the toilet at the moment. But there are things that led us to this point. And one of them was this Daniel Bryan push. Now, 2013, Daniel Bryan, he got over. Now, he had the match at SummerSlam in 2013 with Cena for the WWE Championship. He won the title. Orton cashed in Money in the Bank. And then Triple H turned on him. So Orton and Triple H became the Authority. Daniel Bryan was a babyface. He was pretty damn over at that time. The Yes chant was getting over. It was becoming a real valid thing. Crowds all around America and all around the world were doing the Yes chant. But I've always wondered with that Yes chant. Smarks and internet fans who are so pro-Bryan will say that at that time everyone wanted Bryan. And I don't believe that's the case. Genuinely, if you look at it more analytically and actually look at probably why people are doing the chant, it's fun to go along the shows and really get involved and do a Yes chant. Okay? I don't know how many of these people who are doing the Yes chant back then were doing the Yes chant because Daniel Bryan, he must succeed. He's been held down for 14 years. I don't think that's the case. I think it's more so of a thing of, Yes chant's a fun thing to do. That's realistically why I think the Yes chant got as over as it did. Now, that's the Yes chant, but when you look at Daniel Bryan himself, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him, storied career in the Indies. He made his name in Ring of Honor, all over the world. Bryan Danielson against Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, all these guys in ROH, CM Punk, all these matches. Bryan Danielson makes his name. He gets to WWE's Daniel Bryan. He gets fired. He comes back. He's misused. Then he gets the US title, the world title. He's the mid-carder, the AJ Lee stuff, the matches against Daniel Bryan in 2012. And then you get to 2013. As I mentioned, the Cena thing. Then the Authority turns on him. So we get Bryan versus the Authority for 6 months. We also get Bryan versus Wyatt family in there. And then Daniel Bryan on January something 2014. That was the moment in the steel cage. Daniel Bryan turns on Bray Wyatt after being in his family. Daniel Bryan hits the running knee, escapes the Wyatt family, tears off his Wyatt family overalls, sits on top of the cage and does the Yes chant. An incredible visual. That was probably the loudest reaction I've seen. And it was just amazing. That was a great visual. That Daniel Bryan push, don't get me wrong, it gave you some amazing visuals, when they were doing before Cena vs. Orton at TLC 2013, when they did their, championship, not coronation, but unification, and they had that segment beforehand, where it was the champions collide, and you had all those former world champions in the ring, and the crowd was just hijacking the segment, chanting Daniel Bryan. That was great stuff. It gave the crowd something to really sink their teeth into and get behind. But as I say, I'll say this again, how much of that was the crowd genuinely getting behind Daniel Bryan, and how much of that was, one, because it's cool to take it to the establishment and, cheer against the guys they want, and how much was because the Yes chant's fun to do? That's what I question. Just keep that in mind throughout the video. That's the main point of this. How much was the crowd, the fans wanting to, disrespect the establishment and not go for the guys they want? How much of it was Daniel Bryan himself, genuinely, and how much was the Yes chant? So we roll on. Daniel Bryan, the stuff at the Rumble 2014, that really wasn't a good look. Having Batista win, I can't really defend that. Given the situation where Daniel Bryan was that over, you really should have him win. They didn't have him in the match, which was bad. That was just... The way they did the Rumble 2014 could have been so much better. Having Batista win the way he did, even Batista himself said it wasn't his time to win. I don't know. And then you roll into Elimination Chamber. Kane screws over Bryan. Like, they were initially going to have Bryan versus Sheamus. And then I think they were going to do, like, Bryan versus Kane. Or Bryan Triple H non-title. And then that became Bryan versus Orton versus Batista. So we get to WrestleMania 30. Daniel Bryan wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. An incredible moment. But where to from there? Nowhere. They had him injured. He got injured at a honeymoon. Beat Kane because he jumped off a forklift that was half a foot above the ring. And then what? That's it. Like, Daniel Bryan, he vacated the title, and then that was that. So, realistically, all of that went to nothing. I mean, if you're going to have Daniel Bryan wrestle guys that are a foot taller than him every night, he's going to hurt himself, and he did. And, I don't know, the whole thing, in hindsight, like, the main point of this video, I just don't know about this Daniel Bryan push. Now, people look back upon it on the internet nowadays and say, oh, well, this Daniel Bryan push was them listening to the fans, and look what can happen if you get, you give these indie guys an opportunity. And to that I say, Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, I'm going to probably make a whole video about this because it deserves like a whole video. Bryan and Punk were two indie guys in a time when WWE was not indie, okay? They were the only two guys who had reputations on the independents. So therefore, when the crowd got behind them, it felt more organic as far as he deserves to be pushed. Nowadays, when you have guys, like, everyone's an indie guy nowadays. You can barely pick anyone who's not. Everyone has a career in the independents. Everyone's wrestled in this garage fed and this place in front of 60 people. Everyone's like that now. So, it doesn't work anymore. And ever since this moment where Daniel Bryan empowered the internet fans to, root for the guy they want and boycott shows until the independent guy they like gets a push and a main event run, like, it's really damaged the shows since. Like, I look back, ever since this, the shows haven't been the same. Because after this point in 2014, then you really saw the surplus of the NXT talents. Because NXT in 2014 was really taking off. Like, in 2014, no real NXT guys got pushed on the main roster, but you hit 2015, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, there's a bunch of other guys, Finn Balor, well, that was 2016, but all of these guys, they became, they made their impact on the main roster. Because, like, when the Wyatt family and the Shield came into the main roster, I was cool with that. Those guys were cool. They weren't indie midgets. Roman Reigns, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins when he was in the Shield, Bray Wyatt. Like, they weren't just guys all they do is flips. But then you got your Finn Balors, your Ricochets, all these guys gradually came through, and you just destroyed the meaning of it. Like, this Daniel Bryan moment with the push, I just don't know. I don't know. It's such a weird topic because, yes, at the time, the Daniel Bryan thing was the avenue to go. Pushing Bryan to the moon because he was so over, that was the way to go. But at the same time, long term it wasn't. But short term at the time it was. It's such a tricky little balancing act because he was so over with the yes chant. Fans loved doing the yes chant. There was a group of fans who thought he deserved the opportunity and he was being misused. There was another group, along with the internet fans, who just loved dissing the WWE and taking it to the establishment and cheering for a guy the company doesn't want to push. Elements of all of that, and it builds into this big perfect storm that Daniel Bryan created, which led to him winning the world titles at WrestleMania 30. And then everything happened after, where nothing happened, nothing came from it. He fought Kane once, then vacated it, and then that was it. That was the whole Bryan thing. So that led to nothing, and then you were led with nothing came from the Bryan thing. But at the same time, all the internet fans and the Smark fans felt entitled that, well, we got Bryan to be the main event. We can get anyone to the main event. So from here, shows were hijacked. It became less about who the company wanted and it became about who the internet fans wanted. Then you got your separate divisions of internet fans. So when the NXT surplus really came in 2015 on, you'd have literally people be like, oh, well, I want Finn Balor and Ricochet and this and this and this. And so you'd have little sub-minorities of these internet fans thinking, this guy must be pushed. So you get these really passionate little minorities of fans demanding people get pushed. And if they're not getting pushed, then how dare this company, I hope they die. I want to cancel my network. I want to kill Vince McMahon. Like, all of this stuff. And it's just outrage over nothing. It's outrage for outrage's sake. So realistically, that's the video. This Daniel Bryan push, in the short term, it was the avenue to go. but in the long term, it's created nothing good. It's empowered Smart fans to boycott, hijack, take over shows, take the power out of the company's hand, and even when the power's in the company's hand, just reject everything they do. Like, I don't know, it's a difficult one. So yeah, that's the video. Be sure to like, comment, and sub. Leave down below what you think of this situation, not situation, but this whole Bryan push in general. So yeah, I mean, I think I've said numerous times, at the time it was the avenue to go, but how much of that was the chant, and how much was fans taking to the establishment, how much was Bryan genuinely deserving it? I don't know, it's a weird situation. Like, comment, sub, see ya.